The confirmation of Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence, DNI, has sent shockwaves through the political landscape of the United States. The appointment of a figure known for her independent stance, sharp criticism of establishment politics, and unconventional views on foreign policy marks a turning point for the intelligence community. Gabbard is not a traditional Washington insider, and that is precisely why her appointment is causing both optimism and unease in different circles. For years, the role of the Director of National Intelligence has been held by individuals deeply embedded in the intelligence community, figures who operated within the expected parameters of U.S. national security strategy. But Gabbard is different. A former congresswoman, an Iraq War veteran, and a political outsider who has shifted from Democratic Party leadership to embracing more conservative and nationalist ideals, she represents a break from the norm. Her appointment comes at a time of heightened geopolitical instability. The world is facing growing tensions with China and Russia, an unpredictable Middle East, the rise of artificial intelligence and cyber warfare, and domestic security concerns. The United States finds itself at a crossroads, needing leadership that can balance strength with strategy, secrecy with transparency, and intervention with restraint. Gabbard's views on intelligence operations, surveillance policies, and military strategy are anything but conventional. She has been one of the most vocal critics of U.S. interventionism, mass surveillance programs, and the influence of defense contractors on government decisions. She has called for a shift away from aggressive foreign policies and has accused previous administrations of using intelligence agencies as tools for political manipulation rather than national security. Now she stands at the helm of the very system she once criticized. How will she reconcile her past views with the harsh realities of leading America's intelligence apparatus? Will she reform the system from within, as her supporters hope, or struggle against an entrenched bureaucracy unwilling to change? More importantly, how will this appointment reshape the role of intelligence in shaping U.S. domestic and foreign policy? As Tulsi Gabbard steps into this new position, the world watches closely. Whether she will be a revolutionary leader, a disruptive force, or simply another figurehead in an uncontrollable system, only time will tell. Tulsi Gabbard's appointment as Director of National Intelligence, DNI, is not just a routine political transition, it is a significant shift in the leadership of America's intelligence community. She steps into a position that oversees 18 intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and FBI, controlling vast resources dedicated to national security, counterintelligence, cyber operations, and global surveillance. Her leadership comes at a time when the global and domestic security landscape is rapidly evolving. The United States faces increasing geopolitical tensions with China and Russia, a complex situation in the Middle East, and rising threats in cybersecurity and artificial intelligence warfare. Domestically, there are concerns over mass surveillance, privacy rights, and the politicization of intelligence agencies. But what makes Gabbard's appointment so controversial and, for many, unexpected, is her long history of skepticism toward the U.S. intelligence apparatus. Gabbard has never hidden her distrust of intelligence agencies. During her time in Congress, she was a vocal critic of U.S. interventionist policies, accusing the intelligence community of being complicit in regime change wars that, in her words, only served to fuel global instability. She openly criticized the CIA and NSA's extensive surveillance programs, arguing that they violated constitutional rights under the guise of national security. One of her most controversial moments came in 2017 when she made an unannounced trip to Syria, where she met with President Bashar al-Assad, a move that drew widespread condemnation from both Democrats and Republicans. She insisted that her trip was aimed at understanding the reality of the Syrian conflict and advocating for an end to U.S. military intervention. However, her opponents saw it as an act that undermined U.S. intelligence operations in the region. Over the years, she has also taken a strong stance against the influence of defense contractors and military-industrial lobbying in Washington, arguing that intelligence and defense policies have been shaped more by profit-driven motives than genuine national security interests. Gabbard's political transformation has been as unconventional as her policy positions. Once considered a rising star within the Democratic Party, she broke ranks with the establishment in 2020, frequently clashing with Democratic leadership over issues like foreign policy, civil liberties, and party elitism. In 2022, she publicly announced her departure from the Democratic Party, calling it a corrupt institution controlled by war hawks and corporate interests. She began aligning herself with Republican and populist-leaning figures, making appearances on conservative media and advocating for a non-interventionist, America First approach to foreign policy. By 2024, she had firmly positioned herself within the Republican sphere, supporting nationalist policies, denouncing government overreach and surveillance, and promoting stronger border security and counter-cyberterrorism initiatives. It was this shift toward conservative national security priorities that ultimately led to her nomination for Director of National Intelligence under the new administration. Now, as the head of America's most powerful intelligence agencies, Gabbard finds herself at the center of the very system she once criticized. Her appointment raises several key questions about the future of U.S. intelligence policy. Will she push for declassifying intelligence reports and increasing transparency? How will she handle cyber threats and AI-driven security risks? Will she continue to challenge military interventions, or will she adapt to the realities of intelligence-based decision-making? Can she earn the trust of an intelligence community that she has spent years criticizing? Her supporters believe that her outsider status makes her uniquely suited to reform a system that has long been accused of overreach, secrecy, and political manipulation. They argue that she could reshape intelligence priorities, making national security more about defensive strategy rather than aggressive foreign interventions. Her critics, on the other hand, argue that her lack of deep intelligence experience, her past criticisms of U.S. security agencies, and her unconventional diplomatic decisions could create tension within the intelligence community and weaken its operational efficiency. Regardless of where one stands, one fact is clear. Tulsi Gabbard's tenure as Director of National Intelligence will not be business as usual. It will be a test of whether a political outsider can truly reform one of the most secretive and powerful institutions in the United States, or whether the system will ultimately change her instead. Tulsi Gabbard's path to becoming the Director of National Intelligence, DNI, is unlike that of any of her predecessors. She is not a career intelligence officer nor a traditional Washington insider. Instead, her background is a mix of military service, political insurgency, and personal convictions that have set her apart from both the Democratic and Republican establishments. Her personal story, shaped by her multicultural upbringing, military discipline, and political evolution, offers a deeper understanding of the woman now responsible for overseeing America's intelligence apparatus. Tulsi Gabbard was born on April 12, 1981, in Leloaloa, American Samoa, before her family moved to Hawaii, where she was raised. Her heritage is a blend of Polynesian, Caucasian, and Asian influences, and she was brought up in a deeply religious household practicing Hinduism, a defining aspect of her identity. She remains the first and only Hindu to ever serve in the U.S. Congress, a distinction that has shaped both her political and personal worldview. Her father, Mike Gabbard, is a longtime Hawaii state senator and was once a controversial figure due to his conservative views on social issues. Her mother, Carol Gabbard, served on the Hawaii Board of Education, further immersing Tulsi in public service from an early age. Unlike many in Washington, she has always emphasized her faith, her connection to Eastern philosophy, and her belief in karma in service-oriented leadership. From a young age, Gabbard was drawn to public service, believing that leadership was about service over self-interest, a mantra she carried with her into politics and later into military service. While many politicians in Washington discuss national security from a purely theoretical standpoint, Gabbard has experienced it firsthand. She enlisted in the Hawaii Army National Guard in 2003 at the age of 22, at a time when many young Americans were avoiding military service due to the escalating conflicts in the Middle East. Her first deployment came in 2004 when she served in Iraq as part of a medical unit, treating soldiers wounded in combat. This experience was pivotal. It exposed her to the harsh realities of war, the psychological and physical toll it took on soldiers, and the flaws in U.S. military strategy. She would later deploy again in 2008 to Kuwait, where she served as a military police officer. Over the years, she rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel, making her one of the highest-ranking veterans in modern American politics. Her military background has been a key pillar of her identity, not just in shaping her views on foreign policy, but also in setting her apart from other politicians who lacked first-hand experience in the consequences of war. Despite her high-profile political career, Gabbard has always been a deeply private person when it comes to her personal relationships. However, her marriage to Abraham Williams, a cinematographer and adventure photographer, has been one of the few personal aspects she has shared publicly. Williams, born in New Zealand, is known for his work in documentary and independent film. The couple met in Hawaii, bonding over their shared love for the ocean and nature. They married in 2015 in a traditional Hindu wedding ceremony, reinforcing Gabbard's strong cultural and spiritual ties. Unlike many politicians whose spouses are heavily involved in their campaigns and public image, Williams has largely remained in the background, rarely making political statements or appearing at high-profile government events. Beyond politics, Gabbard is known for her active, outdoor lifestyle. She is an avid surfer, martial artist, and yogi, often citing physical discipline as a key to mental resilience. She has also been an advocate for environmental conservation, particularly for the protection of Hawaii's coastline and wildlife. As Tulsi Gabbard takes on her role as Director of National Intelligence, many wonder how her personal experiences will influence her leadership style. Will her military experience lead to a stronger, more aggressive stance on national security? Will her outsider perspective challenge the traditional intelligence framework? Will her spiritual and philosophical beliefs guide her toward a more restrained, ethical approach to intelligence gathering? Her appointment is not just a political moment, it's a cultural shift. She brings an entirely different background to the intelligence world, one shaped by combat experience, political defiance, and a personal belief system deeply rooted in service and self-discipline. Whether this makes her the most effective DNI in modern history or the most controversial is something only time will reveal. But one thing is certain. She is not a conventional leader, and her tenure will not be business as usual. The appointment of Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence, or DNI, is more than just a leadership change. It is a defining moment for the future of U.S. intelligence operations. Her rise to one of the most powerful national security positions marks a radical departure from the traditional mold of intelligence officials, injecting a sense of unpredictability into an already tense global landscape. Gabbard's tenure will be defined by a fundamental question. Will she be able to reform the intelligence community from within, or will the entrenched system resist her influence, ultimately absorbing her into its structure? Her military background, staunch anti-interventionist stance, and history of skepticism toward intelligence agencies make her a unique figure in this role. She is stepping into a system that has long operated in secrecy, often shielded from public scrutiny, and she has positioned herself as a reformer, someone who will challenge overreach, government surveillance programs, and excessive foreign entanglements. But intelligence is not just about ideals. It's about pragmatism, realpolitik, and sometimes making decisions that exist in moral gray areas. Gabbard's past statements indicate a belief in transparency and restraint, but the reality of intelligence work often demands secrecy and decisive action. The weight of 18 intelligence agencies, global security crises, and internal political struggles now rests on her shoulders. Whether she is prepared for the enormity of this responsibility remains to be seen. As she assumes command of the intelligence community, Gabbard will face a number of critical challenges, each of which could define her legacy as DNI. Managing global tensions. The United States is engaged in an intensifying rivalry with China and Russia, facing new security threats in cyberspace, economic warfare, and military conflicts. Gabbard's non-interventionist stance will be put to the test. Will she advocate for diplomacy, or will the realities of intelligence push her toward a more aggressive approach? Countering cybersecurity and AI threats. With cyber warfare evolving rapidly, intelligence agencies are racing to counter threats from foreign hackers, rogue AI developments, and deepfake misinformation campaigns. Gabbard's leadership will determine how the U.S. navigates this new digital battlefield, restoring public trust in intelligence agencies. The intelligence community has faced growing criticism for domestic surveillance, political interference, and lack of accountability. Gabbard has previously criticized mass surveillance programs, but now she oversees them. Will she enact reforms, or will she compromise on her ideals in the name of national security? Winning the trust of the intelligence community. Many intelligence professionals view Gabbard with skepticism due to her past criticisms of U.S. intelligence agencies and her diplomatic outreach to controversial figures like Bashar al-Assad. Can she bridge the gap between intelligence veterans and her own unconventional approach to leadership? Gabbard's tenure as DNI will be scrutinized from all sides, by politicians, intelligence operatives, the media, and global adversaries. Her supporters believe she will break the cycle of endless wars, demand more accountability from intelligence agencies, and prioritize national security over political agendas. Her critics fear she is too inexperienced in intelligence work, too independent to navigate the bureaucratic machine, and too unpredictable to be trusted with classified operations that require absolute discretion. One thing is certain, her leadership will not be